All right, my friends, welcome back to the Comeback Journey podcast. Got my boy Dustin Marion back with me. He's been doing a lot of big things lately, and super excited. He's like pushing me to be on my grind because sometimes I'll be like, I'm lazy, and he's like, bro, get on your shit.
Facts, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I've had a couple of different conversations with a bunch of different workout people who are enthusiasts in that, and there's something to be said about having a partner, right?
Yeah.
You go to the gym, you try to push up some weight, the motivation's not there, but when you're with someone and they're pushing you, I mean, I don't know if part of it is that you don't want to be shown up, right?
Right.
So that kind of has the, right?
Yeah.
But in a large part, it just makes you accountable. And it's
Yeah.
like, hey, if I give you, let's say, these 3 things to accomplish, you might have not completed all 3, but at least show me that there's some traction on 1 and 2 at least, right? And I mean, I'll admit it here, there's definitely a secret competition, at least in my own mind, trying to keep up with you because, out the gate, you have a lot more set up and ready. I think there's different parts that you have locked in, and there's different parts that I have locked in.
Yeah.
And kind of trying to collaborate that is key. But it also goes to show how hard it is to start a business, right? And so, like, God bless Gary Vee, but, the just do it principle, you need a little bit more tactical advice, I think, that goes with that, right? Where it's just like, just go and do. But when you're your own boss and you're the only one that's going to hold you to the fire, it's hard when you're trying to do so much, right? And I think that there's a portion of you that kind of has to simplify your I don't want to say your task, but your overall agenda, and then try to span from there. Because I've been overwhelming myself a little bit and putting pressure on me to get this podcast off the ground. But at least there's some traction since the last time we spoke.
Yeah.
So I've just been really focusing on getting quality interviews, and there was just some people that were dragging their feet. So I guess I kind of went with them on that because there was two guests that I wanted to get on first before I started to dive into more of the psychology of having your kid in a little league sport of some kind.
Right, because your podcast is the Airing It Out podcast, and it's more originally geared towards sports.
Right. That's what I know. I had Tabitha's dad over, my wife, this weekend, and we were chatting, and I told him, I was like, hey, I would love to get you on the show. He's an amazing dude. He's been like a sound engineer for some huge bands for like 30 years, traveling all around the world. And I'm like, hey, I think your insight is amazing. I would love to have you on the show. And he's like, I thought your show's sports related. I'm like, it's sports centric, but that's not really the underlining tone. I said it's pretty much like a debate, and my string point is sports, and whatever you bring to the table, it's like me mental wrestling you to try to see who's smarter or who's more witty. But yeah, it's been going great. I'll be shooting episode 9 today. I'm super excited about it, having another coach on. And,
I spoke with him last night at work. He came in and hung
Rudy
out for a little bit.
Batista. What a name.
Dude,
Batista. That's a great...
I know.
Well, I don't know if it's Batista that made that name famous. I'm of Latin descent, so that name Batista it sounds clean.
Yeah, it does. But he's a really cool guy.
He's really good.
I had met him, I think, once briefly, and we spoke last night for like a half hour. And he's an amazing guy. He's got a lot of unique viewpoints that I think they're not like the popular frame of how to coach and how to parent, and not that I know anything about those things because I'm not a coach or a parent, but what he was saying really resonated with me. And so I was like, bro, I can't wait to hear.
Yeah, I think though that you have to take a step back because you are a parent now and you are a coach, right? So your little ducklings at your restaurant are they fall into that. So when it comes to mentorship, when it comes to, maybe not ruling with an iron fist and leading by example, these are all things I think that can be placed anywhere. That's a large reason why I wanted to have a lot of coaches on, because you're talking about early stages of development in responding to responsibilities and putting your own self accountable in your team and things like this. So I think it's transcended in that regard, where you can not only apply it to little leaguers or young kids, but you can try to implement some of those things in business. And I think that when you start to, I don't want to say rise to power, but as you start to become more, actually I was stealing this from somebody. I'm not gonna, I won't name them, but when you start to be more interested than interesting, that's when I think things start to get more easier for you. Yeah. Especially from a leadership perspective.
Right, because instead of focusing on like how you're perceived, you're focusing on how you're growing.
Right, and I think Rudy does a really, really good job with that, being a dad. And then like I don't know if I told you, but I'm like the assistant coach on
I saw the hat that says the coach.
Right, I was like, I don't know how the hell they let me get in the building. But with that, you just start to become a dad for a whole squad.
Right.
And you got and that's why I said it's kind of similar to being a manager or to being a boss, because you kind of have like, they're your kids. I think like people need to start looking at that more. Instead of trying to be like a tyrant and yell all the time and kind of be a little jerky, like understand that, first of all, not everybody's an ace, right? You pretty much have the 80% and then the 10 that are great and then the 10 that are like super slackers, and then there's everybody else in the middle. And as a successful manager, to bring in baseball, you have to know how to manage some of the prima donnas, and you need to know how to keep motivated the grinders, because they're gonna grind no matter what, right? And then the less people, that's your challenging job. Like all those people check the boxes. The harder part is working with the people that are giving you trouble and troubleshooting them.
Yeah.
Right? And trying to figure out how to go. And so, like I said, having Rudy on, I can't wait to hear some of his insight, because very smart man. Also, by the way, I think if I'm not mistaken, I'm going to double check, he's Border Patrol too.
No way.
I swear to God. So he's all over the place, right? Like, he's protecting our borders, and then, he's this dad and he's this coach. And a hard part of getting him nailed down to a schedule on the show was that he's 100% committed as a father and as a husband. So you don't see that much, especially nowadays with some of the dads. Usually they put everything on mom and they'll kind of dip out. And both you and I have experience with that. And so now to see a lot of these coaches having a good relationship with their wife and being at all the games and doing all that, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to have him, and I'm gonna open up the floodgates a little bit for more coaches. I was just talking to Jake. He might have an opportunity for me to speak to the football head coach of Helix High.
Nice.
So, yeah, and I mean Helix High is not my alma mater, but Reggie Bush and Alex Smith played there. I don't know if you know who those guys are, but Reggie Bush was a very famous running back for USC, and a lot of people come out of sports out of this. Like Southern California, you'd be not amazed, but especially in like a lower income bracket, how much money is given to these facilities. And I'm sure you can speak on that because you grew up in this neighborhood. So I'm sure you grew up with a lot of jocks, right? As your friends. And it's just great to see, like when we went on Saturday to the open game thing, or opening day, but it wasn't opening day. It was picture day. They got tied into opening day, and then it was like
the bounce houses and stuff at the park.
It was a little ridiculous, bro, because they got a pretty interesting character. They got Tony Gwynn Jr.'s son to throw out the first pitch of the season, but nobody played a baseball game, which I found strange, because I thought, when you get the first pitch, the game is followed. But maybe I don't know. I'm a little newer to some of these things.
Pee-wee sports.
Yeah, and I don't even think. I think I like baseball the most, only because you're not gonna hit your head. You're probably not gonna get injured. Like I was talking to.
Let's take a baseball to the face.
Right, which can hurt a lot, and especially when it's an aluminum bat that doesn't play. I was talking to someone that we know personally, Coach Jake. Hockey coach, and he was telling me that he already had a kid because of hockey with like 2 concussions in like less than 6 weeks.
Damn.
And him having to figure out how to talk to the parents about saying like, look, we got to shut this kid down. He needs time to rehab this injury, because when it comes to concussions at a young age, it's not good. So that's why I kind of like the baseball idea more. I think some other sports you should wait till they're a little older and maybe take off helmets or play more like an easier version of the game, just so they kind of understand techniques and tactics versus throwing them out there to get like crushed. Like I cringe a little bit when I see like a little 5-year-old kid in a full football uniform. I'm like, bro, no way.
You don't know what you're in for.
Right, and then and there's kids and you don't know your own strength, you know, and you're slamming some little kid into something or the floor, and who knows what's happening to his little brain. I didn't fact check this, but I'm still gonna stand on it. Your brain doesn't fully develop until like after 25.
I'm pretty sure I've heard similar things
about
that.
Yeah. Makes me think about the whole like bringing it back to you about like people reconsidering, you know, when to start their drug experimentation,
dude.
Right, because you start to like scramble up the brain so
early,
man. Right.
Like I feel like I was doing. There was like a short period of time where I was doing a lot of ecstasy, and I noticed after like 8 to 12 months of doing it a couple times a week that I noticed that it took me longer to form thoughts. And I was like, oh, that's not good.
Not at all. And I mean, and that's I think we talked about it a little bit the last time we were on the show. For the most part, you know, I think marijuana is the only one. Well, I like this new word now because we were talking about it on how, you know, when you use the word marijuana, it doesn't have the same relevance. So when you're on cannabis, right? Because you gotta step it up scientifically, so they give you more credit. When you're on cannabis, like there's not that much stuff they can put into it, right?
Yeah.
When you're talking about an ecstasy pill, you have no idea. I mean, you're not a scientist.
You
don't have a lab that you're gonna test how pure the MDMA is, and you know that's in it that you're gonna be taking.
Right.
And yeah, there's no reason. I mean, yeah, I had a bit of an estraining time with X2, and it's crazy because it feels like it's using all of your systems, right? Like,
yeah,
like
it's like an overload of your system.
And then like you don't give your body time. Like if you're thinking about it as levels, right? You're on E, and then you just keep going. Excuse the pun. You're on empty and taking ecstasy, and you're just constantly emptying out, and versus maybe let them full up and then try it again.
Right.
You know, but you know, when you try that first ride for the first time and it's so amazing, you just constantly think that you're gonna be able to hit that peak again, and you just keep chasing that peak, and it just never. It's impossible unless you do it once, and then you have the self-control to like not do it for 3 years and try it again, and then you might be the same thing.
Right.
But if you're trying to catch that within the second and third time right after, it's not going to happen.
No.
You know. But yeah, that's borderline abuse, right?
Borderline, yes.
We don't want to offend anybody out there, right? Because it's a complicated thing why you decide to go down that path. But like we were saying, yeah, I mean, there's times I think that when I was, you know, going ham on cannabis, that you start to be like a little bit more cloudier. I think even when you drink, right? Like,
yeah,
it's not.
There's like a fog hanging over.
Right. It's not really doing good for your body.
No.
Right? You're punching that ticket early, but it's not the health benefits, and that's why I wanted to switch from marijuana to cannabis, because marijuana seems like it's just recreational based. Mm-hmm. I think cannabis makes it sound a little bit more serious, and then, you know, when you bring in people who have problems eating when they're on cancer, and then they take cannabis, and it helps them, and it helps with pain, and I think that's, you know, something you gotta, you know, drill down a little bit more versus, you know, blowing a blunt down in the backyard or, you know, next to whatever, an alley, and make you look all dicey. Yeah, there's people smoking blunts in alleys. I don't know if that's true. Not in California, at least. Well, I mean, now the thing is because of the legalization, you don't have to do that anymore.
Right. You don't have to hide, drive down a dark street at night and hotbox a car. You know.
I'll tell you this though, it's funny because you drive a lot, right?
Yeah.
It's funny seeing people. I feel like they don't understand what it means. It's like it's legal recreationally, but there's like parameters. I see dudes just smoking weed now, driving their whip on the highway. Like it's not a big thing. Before you
get a DUI for that.
100%. Right.
And I saw somebody walking. There's a elementary school or a middle school down here. And, so these kids just sitting on the steps of the school smoking a blunt. But I mean, I did that back in the day when it was illegal.
Right.
You know.
I don't think I've ever had the balls to smoke on school property, but once we left the building, it was on and popping.
Yeah.
I was already in more trouble with my truancy that I was like, well, we don't want to add. Right? Just let me get the one charge. Yeah, let me get the one charge. Can't be like, well, your son skipped school and
we caught him smoking in the bathroom.
And right. I'm like, no. You know, I'm out of here.
It's like, where's my car? And
right.
And day.
Oh my God, seriously, it's pretty insane.
Okay, so
Tell me,
what's your plan with your? So you started. If anybody wants to check this out, the Instagram page is very recent. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I just started the social. There's a bit of the logistical side, just because some of these sites have restricted artwork, and so in the size filing. So basically, right now, I'm gonna finish up editing a couple. I had one that I screwed up because I put the outro in the middle of it and I posted. But I used your site, which I thought for anybody trying to start a podcast.
Yeah, Buzzsprout.
Yeah, it's amazing. Now there's others, right? Because it's basically just a hosting site that allows you because I spent a lot of time researching, because I kind of like ran with the seat of my pants. I seen you get the mics, and then I was like, all right, fuck it, let me get the mics. And I just started going, and then I had to slow down a little bit, and I'm like, okay, like, I got all this equipment, let me understand what the hell am I doing a little bit, versus, like, I was running versus crawling.
Right.
That was terrible, so sorry about that.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. Running, so crawling, so that when I went back a little bit, I started to research things. Okay, what is this, what's that? And so with the hosting thing, their interface is amazing, it's super easy, but they're just one of many.
Right.
There's another one that that's super popular, and I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on it, but their interface is like pretty much like in black and white and blah blah, but without digressing too much. So anyways, using it and then posting through Apple, I just wanted it to be perfect. I didn't want it to kind of be screwed up, so I needed artwork, because I was gonna post them, but Apple doesn't allow you to use a generic logo.
Specific.
Right. So I'm online on Buzzsprout, right? But I'm not on Apple yet. I'm not on Spotify.
Streaming platforms.
Yeah, right. But you can still hear the show from the site.
Right.
But to me, just doesn't seem professional, which is why I didn't submit links to any of that.
It's an option.
Right. But at the end of the day, podcast wouldn't exist without iTunes. And so, like, for you to say I'm on Apple, that's like automatic, like, you're legit.
Right. If that's the thing, is like, it's the convenience factor of people. Instead of going to the website and searching and all this, they can just click on it.
Right. That's it.
And
Right.
play.
Because I don't want to have to send you like this long URL.
Right.
And it sends you to a site, and it's fine. But I just feel like there's a part of being able to like type in something within the podcast app that gives you automatic notoriety. It's like, wow, this guy's legit.
Yeah.
So I just and another thing too with this process, trying to be an artist, you start to try to perfect things, and I've had to kind of let go a little bit on that, just because I'm like, hey, you gotta be out there already, and then you can keep tweaking as you go along versus waiting, and getting all of these things perfect. But another part too is when you're your own guy. Getting back to the business thing, I'm the producer, I am the host, I am the engineer, I am the social media guy, and so like some of those hats have gotten heavy because I'm trying to do all three, and to sit down, which I do, and I'm sure you do too, listen to a 2-3 hour episode just to make sure that the sound quality is great, you didn't say nothing too egregious, and there's the listener gets the best version of what you're trying to put out there. It takes time because I gotta literally go and sit through the whole interview, and then it kind of piled up a little bit, and but for the most part, like I said, I'm hosting. I'm just not on a major streaming platform right now.
But it will come.
Yeah, it's in the pipeline. I got an interview today, and then if I gotta stay up for the next 3 days, I'm like all in. I'm not playing. I'm like I'm even putting a little bit of the gym deal on a quick pause because I need to be published, because I just met Tony Gwynn Jr. and I asked him, hey, would you be interested in being on the podcast? Can I reach out to you? And he was like, I think he said sure, but sure was like, sure you could reach out to me, not sure I would be on the podcast. Right. And so I sent him an email, and then I haven't heard back from him, and I sent it, 5:30 on Saturday. I didn't think I was going to get a response.
Blast him, bro.
I have been, but this is another part of it too, and I think, for the listeners, whatever you're working on, having some kind of portfolio a little bit ready before you take the quicker plunge, and then on top of that too, not making excuses, but being a full-time dad, trying to spend more time with my wife. I've been a workaholic for 15 years, hardcore, working 2 and 3 jobs, mostly all bartending, but just hustling, and now getting scheduling down, making time, and understanding
Right,
when my
it's a
kids are here, when
big
they're not.
adjustment.
Yeah, so like balancing all of that has been a bit of a challenge, but at least for me, I'm still putting things on wax. It's just for me, like, I'm trying to do it a little bit more professional, like the intro, the outro. I mean, I could throw them up there,
Yeah.
but I don't want to be judged too harshly on a raw product.
Yeah.
So I want it to be a little bit more polished before I let the world see.
Yeah. So I actually reached out to somebody. I think I showed you his the Instagram, the video, like the intro, like it was like cool with the music and the rewind and the fast forward.
Yeah, it was
that,
great.
Right? Yeah. So he's like one of the members of this Level Up collective that I'm in. So I DM'd him on Instagram a couple days ago, and I was like, "Hey, bro, would you be down to maybe like make an intro and an outro, like 15 seconds each, video for my YouTube channel?" And he was like, "Hell yeah."
How much he wants, by the way?
I don't know. I told him I would hit him up.
Because I talked to a dude just in case you and I get to the point where this becomes too tedious. Not so much the chatting and the scheduling, but the editing. I got a gent that does the same. I don't know if he's that tripped out with the way that dude did it, but at least from the audio standpoint, 25 an hour, and I think videos 50 an hour. And then if you got a big wig guest, I think it's 100 an hour for studio time or something like that.
Okay.
So at least that gives options, because
Yeah.
I mean, you're not gonna bring somebody of notoriety into your living room.
Right.
They'd
I
be
mean,
really
I would,
sweet.
but I would really
Right.
prefer
They
not
would
to.
be. I don't know. I mean, you would. I don't know if they would. Right. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if they would.
Yeah, so I don't know pricing. I told him I'll message him Monday or Tuesday. It's my days off, but I'm really excited to see because his quality of
it was fire.
work is amazing.
Well, the thing is that's another thing too. So like the way he goes through stuff, right?
Right.
That's a transition. So basically, like you'll film one side. And then you film the other side, and then when you merge the copies together, it literally looks like it's going through. So that's another thing that my next hat that I'm going to be wearing is trying to be in the video space as well. Which these are a lot of hard things because I didn't go to college for any of this stuff. So like,
right.
I feel like I'm like Neo,
self-taught. Yeah,
and I'm just plugging into the matrix, and I'm just like watching video after video after video after video to just get my eyes familiar with certain things. You know what I mean? I can't believe 39 years old and I opened Photoshop for the first time, right? Like that might be, for some people, that might be like, oh shoot, how did you wait so long? And so for other people, it's like, I've never opened it.
Right.
Right? Like Tabitha told me the other day, there was this gentleman at the restaurant and she was trying to pitch him for me and he's like, what's a podcast?
Oh no.
So that's funny, right? So if they don't know what podcasts are, then there's a potential that you don't even know what Photoshop is because this is more of a creative studio kind of thing and not everybody wants to be into that space or doesn't know if they want to be into that space. So there's a lot going down. I mean, I think looking back at it now, I wish I would have tried to bite less, right? And just stick with podcasting straight up, just like editing audio and uploading it. But the problem is that for you to get true traction, you need video and that goes in with social media. Like I was just talking to Coach Jake yesterday and if you ask me how to work Instagram, I'm like, that's a whole nother, thing. Or even Snap. Like I was watching, like I was telling him, I'm like, I'm reading an article and to my left and my right, people are like taking a photo, fanning really quickly through filters, touching it, writing stuff, switching it, spinning it, expanding it. And I'm like, wow. And they did that less than, let's say, 2 minutes.
Right.
And if I did, I'm like, 1, okay, 2. All right, let me write this. And I have to spell check it, And so that's one thing I think that Gary Vee, I think that's important that he has mentioned is know what your strengths are and double down on that.
Right.
Instead of trying to expand. But also listen to another gentleman called Ty Lopez, which that's kind of where I'm at too. I kind of want to have an idea of what's going on. If later on I hire people, but at least they can't bullshit me because I know how to do it.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's like, well, this is going to take 10 hours. I'm like, no, bro. It literally takes an hour and a half. Why are you taking 10 hours? I mean, I think we have you guys have an issue with something like that right now with your social media company that you guys have working for you or they're about to get thing, right? Where they're telling you things that you're like, that's not true.
Yeah.
I do this myself.
Right, and maybe the owner of the restaurant is like, oh, this seems reasonable. But
right, for someone
they say
like
it to me, and I'm like, bro.
Right, for someone that doesn't know what a podcast is or Photoshop, they're like, oh, 2 hours sounds great. That sounds reasonable. That's actually short. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, you're like, yeah, dude, I just posted 3 times, and that was 10 minutes. Like, where you at?
Right.
And you charge me an hour and a leg.
Yeah.
So this week will be me like doubling down and getting everything up and ready, and then I'm a little intimidated by the 40 to 100 pieces of content dropping a day. Like that sounds crazy, but I'm gonna try it.
It's a lot easier if you had a team of people doing it.
Yeah, that's the hard part. And the thing is, a team of people, at least in the beginning, that are just as passionate as you to do it for free.
Yeah.
Right, because once you start to pay, if there's no money coming in, how's there gonna be money going out?
Right.
And so it's a really big investment. Once I get up and running, I really want. I mean, I think it would be cool for both of us to do, whether it's individually or together, just a walkthrough of certain things. Because I went on and I looked up this the converter,
the audio interface.
The audio interface, just to see what was going on and see what other options were there and stuff like that. You know, like we just walked into the store and somebody's like, "Hey, you need an inner artifice." And you're like, "What?" Dude, I don't know.
Sidetrack. That guy called me today while right before I pulled up here. He was like, "Hey, I'm just following up. How's your focus drive? Blah blah blah." And I was like, "It's great, man. Thank you for He was like, "Yeah, if you need anything else, come in and see me."
That's fire.
I was like, dude, what's that place called?
Guitar Center. No. Sam Ash.
Sam Ash.
Yeah.
Brandon that works at Sam Ash. He's the man.
Yeah.
I don't know if
I was almost gonna bring that shit over there because I was having so many technical difficulties, bro. Like, so you know what kind of sucks a little bit, that it seems like Apple is really designed for this kind of stuff and the PC isn't. Because
sometimes.
But for the most part, a lot of it's plug and play. Like my shit wasn't plug and play, right? Because if you're running like Adobe is a huge company. And they have this great suite, but it seems like their suite, most of the tutorials are on Macintosh. And I'm like, bro, I don't have a fucking Macintosh. I don't have $2,000 to drop on a goddamn laptop. I have this other laptop that I bought for $300. Can you help me work with this? So I was about to roll that shit in there with that dude and be like, bro, I don't understand what's happening. So one of my future guests, because I planned out, like that's not a problem for me, at least getting people on the show. And maybe that's a strong suit that I shouldn't double down on, but my friend of mine who's a software engineer for Sony, I had to get him because he was like Y, and then this guy was Z, and I'm like, if this guy doesn't work for free, I gotta go back to my man Brandon and be like, bro, where we're at. But thank God he helped me because you know he's an engineer and he didn't know nothing about nothing, but because he knows about engineering and computers, he was able to go through it and help me out and now I've watched some videos and this audio interface is pretty fire, especially this version, because this is the third generation, so they've added some cooler things to it that
I like it a lot.
It's dope.
I've never had one before, but it works perfectly.
I used it before when I worked up in Orange County, but I didn't truly understand the function of it. You know, that was another situation that I was getting thrown into and flying again. You know, I tell you on the last time, a 35-year-old intern trying to catch up to young kids. I didn't have time really to like
the pursuit of happiness.
Facts, right? That's why that movie. I mean, that's there's some tear jerkers, but that movie Automatic is a tearjerker for me because that struggle is real. It's so real, and it's a true story. Like if it was just a regular movie, I don't think it would have that much weight or size for it.
Right.
But the fact that it's a true story, I mean, some of the greatest lines in that movie are awesome.
And it's Will Smith.
I mean, I don't know, but sure. I don't know. I like earlier Will.
Like Fresh Prince Will?
No, I mean, of course, he changed a generation of culture as Fresh Prince.
Right.
And I don't think it was just him. I think they had a really great ensemble. But I mean, young Will, in his earlier film career, he did some I think it was 6 Degrees of Separation was, I think, his first film, and that movie was absolutely brilliant.
I've never seen it.
It's one of his first movies.
You go down the rabbit hole with movies, bro.
Oh, it's my brain, man. I really
You told me
love
one day you sat and watched like all the horror movies from the 60s and 70s.
Yeah. You know what it is, especially now that I've really gotten interested into editing. I can't tell you how many videos I've watched. Like when you showed me that guy, I was like, okay, I know how to do that. I know how to do that. Just by watching. I just haven't put it in practice. But watching movies, like last night, me and my wife, I stood up, not later than usual. I was in bed early, but we watched like 2 hours of music videos. Why? Because I want to see the editing. And most music videos have fire editing.
Right.
You know? And so, but that's why I watch film. I want to see, intro. Like my biggest thing now watching movies is how they do the edits. How long was that frame going? Like I was watching an intro, I forgot for what movie right now, and they had an overlay of New York, right? So like that's something, because when you think about your intro, you want to do certain shots for yourself, like you talking, maybe a flyover, maybe a little San Diego, maybe a beach, and so trying to realize, okay, is it 2 seconds? Is it 3 seconds? You know, do you break the rules? You know, do you do what you want? And then a fade in, fade out. And there was like, for us, I thought it was funny, like having like a black screen and then asking a question or saying a statement, right? And then fading in a part of the show in some form that answers that question or reiterates that statement. But that's just me watching. And so for me, I enjoy watching film. But now I don't watch it
for like purely entertainment purposes.
Correct. I watch
Your brain is
I know. It is. It's facts. Thank God there's still porn, right? I can keep it simple. But now it's
the greatest plot lines ever made.
Right. Well, you know.
There's a shark in the bathtub.
Right.
Save me, lifeguard.
Yeah, oh my God. Yeah. But yeah. So early Will. Besides that, Bad Boys, because of Mike Lowry. Come on, bro. That was fire.
I mean, we got the same last name.
Right.
You know.
Right. That's what I'm saying. We went the last time, right?
Yeah.
So, and then I think maybe for me, I Am Legend was like the last movie that I really, really enjoyed of his.
It was a great movie.
I was so scared watching that movie. It was so crazy, bro.
There was a movie he had called Focus.
That was cool. It was cool.
It was good.
It was cool. It was cool. It was all right. It kind of left me like wanting more at the end, and then there wasn't that much in the middle. So I was just like, okay. I mean, the thing is, listen, first of all, Will is like black, tall, and handsome. You put that fool in a goddamn $3,000 suit. How are you not gonna watch him, right? And then the production value that he gets. This is a $30 million, a film or $50 million film guy.
Right.
Is top of the line, right? He's getting the best of the best. So I thought it was okay. I mean, it was different, but I don't know. It wasn't my favorites. I guess it's hard when you I really wish, and it's hard because you typecast actors yourself. Because they kill in, Bad Boys was so amazing that I was like, you just need to do this like a billion times and it will be fire every time, right? Or do more cop stuff. But he's been kind of all over the place. He's done some Archie stuff. I think, which one is it? There's another movie called 6 Pounds. Have you ever heard of that movie? I think it's called 6 Pounds. And it's about him meeting all these people and donating his organs to them.
Oh, shit.
Right, so this girl might have a heart thing and kind of meets up with her, and he's like, okay, I don't think he tells them, but he's like, all right, this person I'm gonna give the heart, and he'll hang out with someone else, and they have bad lungs, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna give him my lungs, and then when he dies, it's a pretty interesting film. It was one of more of the independent Will films that's something like good, right? Focus and 6 Pounds, I'm like, that's not the same thing, right? But like I said, he on the last show, he came out and has said some of the stuff that he didn't like. But I was watching Wild Wild West, right? And he doesn't seem to like that movie, and I love that movie. It's fun, it's easy. Yeah. I think
it's like you can just kick back and watch it and enjoy.
Right. There's explosions. I know my wife is killing me. She's like, I hate watching movies with you because. So the movie Joker, you've seen it, right?
No.
Man, where you at? By the way, I still told somebody, not to get too much on a film tangent. I told somebody on one of my shows, we were talking, and I was telling them how I ridiculed you for what was that movie with Gaga? Oh, Star is Born.
Oh, Star is Born.
And then I had to say that I bawled like a motherfucker, so I had to apologize for giving you shit on it. And you went to see it alone, right?
Oh yeah.
And I seen it alone by myself too, so I was just like, man, I gotta take. But it was really, 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 really well done.
Yeah, man, that's a great movie.
But yeah, I think I lost where I was going with that. But anyways,
so something about Joker.
Oh yeah. So thank you. That film was good, but because it was a little bit more artsy. I enjoyed it, but I'm not going to say I loved it. I thought everything was great about it, but there was a lot of downtime for me in the film as they're trying to, develop the characters. And, Joaquin killed it, but she's like, oh, I want to watch it again. And I'm just like, I don't really want to do that. But I think I want to watch it again. I mean, it's very stylish. It's really good, but I was just telling somebody that I couldn't watch the movie, I guess, because I was looking at the film as Gotham. Versus a movie about Joker.
Yeah.
Right? And then to be introspective about that, how your neighborhood, how your community, or how outside influences basically make you who you are, kind of, sort of, right? Versus bringing in the whole argument.
Well, it's the whole thing about and it's the whole thing about your surroundings.
Right.
Who do you have around you? What circumstances are you in? And what are you willing to subject yourself to, and for how long? And that kind of...
I think you would really, really dig it in this part that you have a single mom And there's a lot of like subtle undertones about that whole relationship and how, as you get older, I think it's interesting to think, right? Like, mom and dad have a kid, no problem, they raise them. But the moment that mom and dad become a senior, the kid has a problem taking care of them, and they usually put them in homes or have like a designated area for them to go versus trying to keep them with them. And I know it's hard. I know it's not easy, but he kind of battles with that, right? Like, he's taking care of his mom, but he's not mentally fit, and she's not mentally fit, and it's like, is she making him more or less worse, and all that stuff? And
damn, now I want to watch it.
it's pretty. I mean,
I wanted to watch it before, but
when you break it down, have you ever seen? I'm not gonna try to give away too much, but have you ever watched Mr. Robot?
No.
That's another show you should check out.
Okay.
It's very similar to that. It just talks about it. It has without giving away too much. It has a lot of Fight Club elements to it too.
Okay.
Right.
I love that movie.
Well, one of the greats, for sure. Tyler Durden. Come on.
Tyler Durden, my boy. Shout out.
Yeah, seriously. I was like, his name is Robert Paulson. I always say that shit all the time when we're talking about somebody fucking meaningless. I'm like, come on, gotta give him some love. That movie was great. And I don't think the first time in, you ever think what's happening at the end for people that didn't see it.
No.
I had to watch it, like, the first time I watched it, I literally watched it a second time because I was like, what just happened?
Like immediately after?
Immediately after. And I think it might have been on VHS. I was like, rewind, wait, pow, and then
4
play.
minutes later.
And I'm like, okay, here we go. Let's do this again. Because this, how did I miss it?
Yeah.
Where were the signs?
Right.
And the flicker, I thought was like stylish cool, but that wasn't it. That was that guy already starting to appear in his mind. I don't know if you remember that part. Do you remember that part in the movie? What? There's a scene where he's asking the doctor for meds, and then he walks out of the clinic, and they flash Tyler. And
really?
So, yeah, that's the director trying to tell you he's been up already so long.
Oh, right, okay.
That now an image is starting to pop up. Because that's,
like the beginnings of a psychotic break.
Yes, right. And so, right.
That's fun.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. That fucking doctor should have just gave that kid the pills to go to sleep. Right? And then maybe there wouldn't even have been an issue or a problem.
Right, Robert Paulson would still be alive.
Facts, right? They wouldn't have blown up some stupid cafe. I watched that movie now, and I'm like, how the fuck did I not see so much shit in that? Like, when Starbucks went public, I should have like put all my money into that shit. Because, bro, that place is not going away.
No.
You can talk about Buzz Coffee or whatever the heck, and this coffee over here, Kona Coffee, and your mama's coffee and your sister's coffee, but Starbucks, those fools are not going anywhere.
No,
and it's really funny to see how other companies try. But in that film, they had like a Starbucks a cup in it, and I'm always like, God damn it, why am I not paying attention?
Subtle
more?
clues.
Yeah, they're all there. They're all there. That's why I like film, especially. More artsy stuff. I just want to see explosions. Right? I want to see like Transformers 19.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy about the Fast and Furious stuff.
I think they took it too long.
Yeah, well, now it's franchises, right? It's not even sequels or
yeah, the first one was just so good.
It was really good. I watched it.
The second one was good.
Ish.
Tokyo Drift.
Right. Well, you lost the main dynamic, right? Which was
it was completely different.
Paul Walker and Vin Diesel.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And then Vin Diesel pops up at the very end of Tokyo Drift, and it's like, so the last 10 seconds of the movie, that's how it ties in.
Right.
Where you at, bro?
I think they were trying to be creative, right? Like they were looking at it, okay, like maybe, and I see a lot of different things try to do this, where they're like, well, it's just a concept. Right. We'll try to move that concept and try to see. The problem was, I think that come on, no offense to Little Bow Wow, but when you have a Little Bow Wow in a movie, like we're not Little Bow Wow's in Tokyo Drift 3. No. Like even to say that much about Ja Rule, but Ja Rule at the time was a huge, figure, and to have him is like everybody kind of breaking in. It's like having Method Man and How High, right? Like you don't see that much, but before there was a lot of rappers that were trying to break into the the movie scene. Yeah. And so once it started to tail off, I was like, if you look at it, Tokyo Drift is not too bad. It's just the actor, the lead, just wasn't. He's no Vin Diesel. No. Right? And no Paul Walker. You got like that baby cute face guy, blonde, so you get all the biddies with that. Right. So girls are gonna automatically go to see him, and then the bros are gonna go watch a bro. Right. Right?
It's a win-win.
Right.
Flawless execution.
Yeah, let's see. The remakes were good. They were fine. I mean, a large part of it was
I think
because
I watched all of them. I don't know how many there were.
they started to get a little weird when they started to add like weight. Like it started to become like Expendables.
Yeah.
It's like what actor is not busy?
Right. Who can we bring in here?
Yeah, right.
That's a well-known actor, but hasn't been doing shit
right
for the last few years.
And those movies are good, but I can't watch them.
No.
Like that's too much, because there's no. I need like some kind of decent actor somewhere in the building that's gonna carry it for me.
Right.
Yeah. Talking about 70s films, I just watched. I was watching. I didn't finish it. I gotta finish it. But again, very stylish. Dirty Harry, another 70s film. You watch a lot of it. Yeah. So I watch a lot of this stuff because I'm not going to film school. So let me see what these guys are doing. You're talking about like large panning. I mean, it's pretty like the opening sequence is a lot similar to that movie I was telling you that I watched with the original Mechanic. That we were talking about last time. And you see like the cheesy, because that's something too now, right? Like the overlay of the title.
Yeah.
So they're all in yellow, right? And that's like a signature style of like the 70s. And like some of the stuff they were saying in that movie was ridiculous.
I want to
tell me,
take a little second here to maybe for people that haven't picked up about everything that you're saying is like you were like, I want to start a podcast, but I don't know shit about it. And you literally put in the time and hours and hours and hours by yourself at home learning this, right? Most people are like, oh, I don't know how to do that. Fuck, I'll never do it. You know? And I think it inspires me to want to do more because I'm like, fuck, I don't even know anything about video editing. I barely know shit about audio editing. Like, I just have GarageBand. And
I think God bless GarageBand and Apple.
Yeah. But, you know, I feel like there's two sides of the spectrum where it's like, you're either, oh, fuck, okay, well, I'm just going to be stuck where I'm at, and I'm going to work at whatever job, and fuck it, okay, because I don't know how to do anything else. Well, there's the internet that can literally show you everything, and you want to do video editing, cool, like you said, like watch music videos, watch old movies, new movies, compare, see how long, you said, like how long was that clip, how long was that intro, how was that transition, like those little things, like it's just practice. You just have to put in the time. You have to be, I feel, you have to want to change more than like however uncomfortable you are in your situation, you're going to stay in that uncomfortable situation unless you want to change more than you're not okay with where you're at. Because you can be not okay with where you're at and still not do anything to change your life. You have to want it. You have to go out and do it. And I feel like so many people are like, fuck it. I don't want to. Too much work. It's hard. It's not. I mean, it's the hard part is just changing your mindset. If you can just change your mindset, then you're like, cool, let me dive in down this rabbit hole and learn everything here, and then cool, I figured that out, on to the next thing, and on to the next thing. And it's really cool to see, because I would say, 6 months ago, neither of us were doing anything.
Right.
You know?
I was writing lists like a motherfucker, and I was like, window shopping like a motherfucker, but to pull the trigger.
Yeah, that's the thing. You just gotta do it.
Right. My biggest fear was subtraction by addition, which was screwing me up. But before I dig into that whole world, a couple things. First thing, I seen this one-liner from an article that just jumped up on my feed that said, "Where would we be without YouTube?" It's a scary place when I think about it, because I've learned so much from that place, from changing a toilet knob, I swear to God, okay, to editing video. I mean, that's huge, right? I remember a story about the game, and I've always found it fascinating, and I've always kept it with me. When the game went to jail, he wanted to be a rapper, right? So to kill the time, what the game did was he listened to every popular album that was out. He told his brother, he's like, hey, give me Pac, give me Big, give me Nas, give me all of it. Listen to every track, listen to every album. And through that, he found his voice and then started dropping music. So there's a part of it that you gotta want to be a student of the game and kind of watch what others have done, and you kind of copy and paste to start, and then eventually you kind of get your own positioning with things.
You gotta like pick and choose what works for you.
A struggle that I had, and I was talking to my wife about this, was I think I was suffering a midlife crisis last year. And I've been actually suffering a midlife crisis since probably about 34, which is weird because I just met a dude. I hope I remember the story. It's pretty funny. I don't want to clown him too much, but he was a 40-year-old that we met yesterday at dinner. Clearly, he was in a midlife crisis. Mm-hmm. So for me, I think a large part of it is a couple things. First of all, being careful with your ideas. What I mean about that is that if you have an idea, right, you just don't want to tell everybody, because I think some of the outsider influences is a large reason why you kind of like tap the brakes a little bit. So for example, if you're saying, hey, I want to be an artist, and you tell somebody that's not going to be super supportive and nurturing to it, they're like, bro, artists don't make shit. Why are you wasting your time? Get a real job, pay the bills, and then, right? So that goes back to what you were saying a little bit about having maybe not only a creative team that helps you do your input, but a team of people that you bounce ideas off of, and they give you positive and negative feedback.
Right.
Where they're like, hey, these things sound great, might want to work on a couple of this, but for the most part, the idea sounds solid, right? Then I think there's another part, because, you know, I've been dealing with this a lot, and we talked about it a little bit too. Your inner voice talks to you.
Yeah.
And it really, I think it gets louder as you get older. And what you love to do, you love to do. And whether you're doing it or not, somewhere inside of you is dying when you're not doing it.
Yeah.
And it just becomes this echo chamber. And it happened to me a lot. And it's like, okay, I'm going to work. And I was literally exactly what you're talking about. Hey, maybe this is a fantasy. Let me just get my job. This is it. I got a 2-bedroom apartment. I got kids. And then just settling. Like, it's so easy to walk into it because it's easy. That's really easy. To lay down, it's easy. The challenge is like starting to listen to your gut and to your voice and trying to see, you know, what you can make out of that, you know, and it's hard when you don't have a specific thing in mind. Thank God, you know, for the most part with this podcasting, I really enjoy talking to people.
Yeah.
Being a bartender, that's probably like one of my favorite things to do is building connections with people. And so me just really getting to the root of, this is what you want, try it slowly but surely, right? You don't have to like really run right out the gate. Try a little bit, you know, and especially when the internet offers so many things. There was a Super Bowl commercial about a guy, I don't know how busy you were, if you watched it or not, but about a guy who wanted to be I forget what the name of it is. A long snapper. A long snapper. So basically the long snapper, if I'm not mistaken, is snapping the ball to the kicker to kick the ball. He knew nothing about it. He said he learned the basics on YouTube, then started getting with some people to train, and ended up becoming a long snapper in the NFL. Amazing story. But a lot of that was getting the information. I mean, we're in an era that I haven't been in when I was a kid. I mean, I used to be in love with martial arts when I was really young, and they only had a couple magazines.
Yeah.
And the magazines didn't go into detail about some of the stuff. And like, you know, now, you know, you type in the word martial art and there's so many sites, there's so many forums, there's so many chats. I mean, to think about YouTube alone where you can literally forget about who made the video, you can talk to people who are having the same questions in the same space and have the same relative concerns that you have, that you can, you know, go back and forth with. Like, I think a lot of people don't really understand how much community is on the internet.
I feel like that's all it is.
Right. But I think that people get confused about what community is, right? Like, they're trying to network and they don't understand that community is networking.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just like a community of fools that are going to be playing Fortnite until 3 a.m.
Right.
You know, there's other parts. But a large part of it is not only writing the plan, not only to try to copy one of my fan favorites, write the vision, right? So funny. Then you gotta see it, and then you can't get hamstringed by those things. You can't just be a dreamer and a writer. Like, you literally gotta go out there and feel the bumps and bruises along the way. And I think you and I going through this journey we have had some bumps and bruises. You know, the
Yeah.
mic's not working. This is not working. You know, you're trying to load this up and it didn't load up, and you got to go look back at it, and then you recorded this and the sound quality, and there's constant things, but you got to stay positive in those things and understand that things are going to go wrong and stay within your wheelhouse. But you know, I think that society makes it really easy for people to stay comfortable, bro.
100%.
You
I
know?
think that's how the system is designed.
Right.
Is to keep people comfortable.
Bro, I just talking about it to bring it back. I hate to keep doing it to you, but I just watched The Matrix, right? And I didn't watch The Matrix for the graphics. I watched The Matrix for a lot of the subtle messages, and it's really crazy that this system is built on people just being mediocre, right? And now it's being even like to bring in the Pee Wee Sports and the thing. Now that's even being kind of exaggerated a little bit more too, where everybody gets a trophy, everybody's in first place, and everybody wins, and you're a winner, bro, and don't worry about it. And I feel like it's like this narrative to keep the people in power where they're at, and to keep everybody else kind of just going through the options and the loops and whatever else, buying more shit on Amazon that you don't really need.
Yeah.
Right?
I had to go through all my I haven't gone through all of them yet, but I went through all the emails that I get of like promotions and advertisements, and I went through and unsubscribed from a bunch.
Yeah, I gotta do that, by the way. It's on my to-do list.
I'm like, man,
I had to make a new email. I didn't even fuck with that.
I can't.
I know.
Because I have 3 email addresses.
Right.
I got like my personal.
I got
one.
like 10.
I have this one for the comeback journey, and then I have my work email.
Right.
And I'm like, bro.
Still junk mail like a motherfucker.
Just mainly on my personal.
Right.
One. But I'm like, Jesus Christ.
I think I have unread, and that's just what loaded up in the phone.
Okay.
It's like 40,000.
Yeah, because I remember I had like 16, and you were like, bro, that's nothing.
Yeah. I didn't even. Fools just keep banging that shit. I don't even know. I mean, that was one of my work emails, so I have it on my first page, just so that I you know, if I have to get to it, I get to it. But there's a lot. You just gotta plan, execute, and then get into that rhythm of doing that.
Yeah.
Plan it and then do it, and then plan it and then do it, and then eventually, I mean, everybody talks about it. It's not about doing a bunch of big things at once. It's about doing a bunch of little things, and over time, those little things kind of turn into the avalanche.
That builds the foundation. One of my buddies said this. I don't know if he was like quoting somebody else that said this, but if you got a brick wall, right, and you want to move it 100 feet in one direction, okay, you're not just gonna shove the wall, right? You got to take one brick and walk it over there and place that brick, and then grab another one and make sure it's perfectly set and lay that brick perfect. And over time, that wall is going to get where you need to be, and it's going to be exactly how you want it. But you got to take the time and effort, and you got to have the patience to be able to do it correctly. And sure, maybe if while you're dismantling the first wall, like maybe some bricks, you know, fall apart or they crumble, or that's fine, man. Go find another brick. But
or for my situation, not worrying about laying each brick so perfectly, right? At least to start with. I mean, there's a lot to be said about the foundation, but at least that you're laying them shows that you're in the process.
Right.
Versus just looking at the wall and being like, how am I going to get that to the other side?
Right. You just got to do it.
Right. A large part of it is, I mean, like Nike says, just do it, bro.
Just do it, bro. You know, I heard that Nike stole that line from some dude that was giving a speech back in like the 70s.
Really?
Remember when I went to that real estate
conference
thing? So, like, one of
for was it Kawasaki?
Yeah.
Mr. Robert.
Yeah,
that guy's a genius.
Yeah. But they showed this video of this guy. He was like, you want this? Just do it. You want this? Just do it. And then like a year later, Nike's slogan was just do it. But fuck it.
A lot of those guys, I mean, you know, I'm a huge, I hate to use this word because they don't like this word, but I'm huge into motivational guys and speeches. And I mean, from Tony or Anthony Robbins to Les Brown to Eric Thomas, and that's just to name a few. I mean, when you start getting
E.T. is a savage.
That's my man.
I've
seen him in real life.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
he
awesome.
came to San Diego, and he answered a question of mine. By the way, I called him Earl. That's how fucking nervous I was. Because I was asking a question to him and his wife, and I fucked it up because but I got to hug him, and I asked him, you know, can I hug you? Because I just want to feel greatness.
Right.
But the boy is, I mean, when you're talking about someone coming from the diaphragm and delivering a message, there's nobody who motivates me more than him. You know what I mean? It's just like he's so fiery and exciting.
Yeah.
Another guy that I like listening to is C.T. Fletcher.
Bro, C.T. Fletcher. My boy, bro.
By the way, he trains up in me and Alex were thinking about going and visiting him because he runs a gym, and I was gonna go up there and try to see, like, bring all my equipment and be like, bro, can I interview you like right now? You know, can you make some time? Dude. Just because he's out. We're in Cali, bro. Cali. That's a cool thing about being here. That's another thing that I think people should consider too. If you're trying to do more, you might want to look at California, because out here,
just beware of the rent prices.
Yeah. Listen, but it's you could be high rent in New York and deal with all that bullshit like 100%. People that I know, and your life sucks.
You just got to be okay with like either working multiple jobs or having multiple roommates.
Yeah, you got to be a grinder, bro. So, anyways, what were you gonna say about CT or something relevant or relative to him?
On the last podcast, my buddy wore a beanie and said, "It's still your motherfucking set," but just like the IST, whatever the fuck,
right? Half of it.
ISY, yeah, just like on the side, and he was like,
"Is that one of his things? Is that a saying from CT? I haven't heard enough of his dialogue.
He's like, "It's still my motherfucking set."
Well, we talk about there was a guy that Alex went to the gym and started yelling, "Put the fucking pin back into the," and it's just like these guys, they get hyped, bro. I mean, when you're pumping,
like in one of the machines.
Because not for nothing, there is gym etiquette, and some people, you know, they don't follow it, and then like for some, I don't know, I'm gonna say raged out instead of roid out, just so I don't hurt nobody's feelings. But you know, he's pretty amped. He just fucked up that shit. You better put that pin back. So me and him joke about, you know, maybe making a shirt, because that's kind of the same thing, right? Like, it's still my fucking set. Like, back up, bro.
Right.
I'm in the building.
Right.
But even listening to Arnold and some of the stuff that he talks about, and that's relative to this conversation right now, is more sets and more reps. Mm-hmm. It's the only way you get better at anything. And he was talking about that relative to his calves. He hated his calves. And he knew that he wanted bigger calves, and the only way to get there was doing more. Right? And so that's pretty much like the answer to life. Who would have thought 20 years later, the Terminator would be the guy that would give you, you know, this path to success, and it would sound like a no-brainer, right?
Right.
You would just be like, I don't know. I was into Rocky too, speaking of tearjerkers. I watched that film and I'm just like, I'm gonna go fuck up the world. It's just like so motivating. It's amazing. I can literally run.
Just the theme song, bro, was like, bro, I feel like my blood starts pumping.
So you know I'm crazy, bro. So Bill Conti is who did most of the soundtrack to most of those films. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, bro. That one that I think it's called, it's not Ringing the Bell. It's something to that sense, but that's the one that's like the most famous one. Oh, Going the Distance is what it's called. Yeah, of course, that's what it's called. Going the Distance. And I mean, every part of that soundtrack just makes me. That was actually something that I got mad at with the last Creed. I'm like, bro, Rocky's Rocky, but Rocky is Rocky because of that music, right? Like that music. If I played that music on right now, we'd be automatically hyped,
right? Because
of how or what it does to you. Like it was. The symphony was done so well on it that you're just like,
yeah,
like it's done great. And you're like, I'm gonna fuck some shit up. But it has like some of the high notes. It's like I'm gonna kill.
I'm just gonna go run through this wall,
bro. I don't know if I told you when I was telling Alex. I was on the treadmill, and when I'm on the treadmill, I fucking YouTube Rocky 4, and that scene, that training montage. I go ham on that treadmill, bro. He's climbing that mountain, and I'm just like, and they got the Russian, and I'm just like, oh man, and just hitting it. But those are things that I think you need to figure out. Like I had some dude, and we were talking, and he said that he doesn't believe in motivational stuff, and I was like, bro, you're a fool. Les Brown says that for every negative thought, right, you need to say 11 positive thoughts. This is like science. To counteract one negative thought. So I think that you live a life of people giving you negative stuff all the time. It can't hurt to listen to some of these guys, man. Some of their inspiration is pretty insane.
The only thing that, and I've heard Gary Vee mention this a couple times, where he's like, you know, his fear is that people like watch his videos and consume his content, and they get all hyped up for like a day or a week, and then after that they're like, oh,
bro, his best pitches are him being in auditoriums and him like literally giving you a cheat code, and he's like, I know 80% of you motherfuckers are not gonna do this.
Right.
That's insane.
Yeah. He's like, people pay money to go see him, and he gives them all the tools
goals
and
Nobody does shit. Like at least 10% might execute.
Maybe 10%.
Right. I would say maybe. That's a stretch. He always says it. He says 2. He's like, only 2 of you guys are gonna do something with this.
Right.
He said that deck that you showed me has made people millions of dollars.
I'm sure.
Just follow it to the team.
I'm sure.
And you crush.
Right.
That's crazy. I didn't get it for free.
Yeah.
Right?
He just put it out.
I've been to a lot of seminars where, because I don't know if I was a seminar junkie, but I was on the search of purpose and all this other stuff. And a lot of the seminars, usually they'll have like the talker, but then they'll have like the real estate guy. And he's going to show you how to fucking do all the real estate great. And they'll have the stock guy. And they're always selling stuff in the back of the room. And I think it's awesome. You know, Eric, he didn't really have a product to sell, but he didn't really try to push it. His other guys in charge pushed it. I mean, for Thomas, it's just him. I think one of the best lines that he said was, you know, do your job. And that's like stolen from Bill Belichick. But a lot of people need practical tactics. I think I was one of those people that fall into that, right? Like,
I think so too. It's hard. I struggle with, like, I feel like I know what I should be doing, or like I know. Yeah, I guess like I know what I should be doing, but I don't know exactly how to like properly execute the.
Well, the best thing I love about Les is like he's like, you have all the answers within you. How crazy is that, right? So basically, you know what you should be doing.
That's the thing.
One, you're not doing them, but 2, putting them in an order that you would find like the most not the most value, but the most output out of all of those things.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's the thing. Is like, I feel like there's that voice inside your head, right? But how clearly are you hearing it, and are you interpreting the message in a way that's going to benefit you? Like, there's like, you know, I mentioned it before, but like there was, you know, that we were walking to work, like smoking a cigarette, and you were like, there's you know that feeling you get in your gut, like we need to learn how to harness that. And I was like, fuck. Like I think about that, like you saying that probably once a week, and I'm like,
I think about it once a day, bro.
Seriously, man.
Because it happens so much to me. Like right now, because I'm so plugged in, the spider sense is just going off.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, shut up. Like I'm trying to do something right now. Like, but if the only time it's not, and you tell me if I'm wrong, the only time that it's not going off is when I'm doing this.
Yeah.
It's like you're right in the space where you need to be, bro. That's where it is.
I mean,
and I don't really. The only thing that I'm worried about is okay, I got my next task. But outside of that, like the spider sense kind of feels like, oh, okay, this is the space you're supposed to kind of be in. You're
right.
Okay
so
right
that's
now.
I believe that's what they call the flow state.
Yes.
And that's where, you know, you're so focused and in your element that you don't even, like, your peripheral is non-existent. You're just like focused, you're zoned in, and hours can go by and you don't even realize it. You know?
It's funny because I've been kind of like working this space. It takes hours to get in, but once you're in, you get upset. It's almost like that Neo shit that someone tries to jack you out of it because you're like, bro, I'm in the zone. But not so much that you're in the zone. It's just like, don't fuck with me right now. Like, this is so hard for me to get to this space.
Right.
That now I'm here and now it's flying. Like, all my ideas, like what you're saying, like the blueprint, how you wanted to go, it just, your tasks just start to get with you. When I'm in the zone, I don't even write things down. And usually I need to write things down to get out of my brain.
Right.
But with that, it's just like, okay, next task, go. And it sucks when you're in it and you're focused and now you gotta come back.
Okay, so there's something that I learned, and I'm not sure how it's something from the Level Up Collective, and I'm you know, it's like a private community, so I'm like I'm not supposed to like divulge the information that I learned from there, but I'm gonna drop a term that relates to this if you want to look it up after.
Okay.
Attention residue.
That's good.
Okay.
The only time I hear residue is with marijuana, so I like this. This is good.
Okay, so
not that
yeah. So just. And if anybody's listening, if they want to look that up and you know, dive a little deeper into that, I had never heard it before, and I was like, holy shit, it's so true. It's crazy. Like,
okay, so break it down.
Okay.
I mean, without going too much into it, so basically, it's whatever you're learning, retaining as the most as possible.
Okay, so it's, you know, if you're.
Without giving away, try to figure it out because we don't want to you know, get your members upset at you for giving away, you know, too much of the secret. Maybe you can tease it, I guess.
It's while you're focusing on a task, and then if you get distracted, how
Gotcha.
difficult it is to get back in that original state of mind.
Yes. That's why because I'm married now and I have kids. And is it okay? What's your status? Are you single or you're dating?
I'm in a relationship.
Okay, perfect. So this is one of the things that I find that's hard, right? Because society, and I was talking to this dude that was having the 40-year-old crisis shit. You need the picket fence. You need the dog. You need the kids. You need the wife. And you get the house. And you're good. But they didn't even tell you how to get any of that shit. But this is this is the blueprint of you having the perfect life. What I just said is the perfect life, right? But there's also something to be said that when you have another person, and I think you can really relate to this, and we talked about it a little bit the last time we were on, that those things can become distractions. And when you're trying to grind and you need to go into the, to bring up ET again, when you try to go into the lab, and you're going to put in 36 hours, the last thing you need at hour 21 is your significant other banging on the door telling you, like, hey, when are you going to spend some time with me? When are we going to go out and eat? What are you doing today? What did you do? Like, listen, back the fuck up. I'm right now, trying to make it happen. And so to me, that's a new challenge now. And I spoke to Eric about it. And so this was his answer. And it's funny that it just came to me. So I asked him, and I call him Earl. And it was his wife too. His wife's name was Dee Dee. So instead of me saying Dee Dee and Eric, I was like Dee Dee and Earl. Right? I don't know why. And I asked him, I said, how do you balance your relationship life and you trying to build something? Get up earlier. That was the answer. Plain and simple.
Okay, so check this out.
Because you basically have to be up at the crack of dawn so these motherfuckers don't fuck with you.
I'm sure that's a big part of it.
Right?
So here's a couple things. One, there's an episode of the Bigger Pockets real estate investing podcast where they bring on this super successful couple, and the husband wrote a book, and the co-author of the book was Keller.
Keller Williams.
Yeah, so
Keller
Williams was the co-author of this book with this guy they brought on the podcast.
By the way, for people that like books, The One Thing by that same author, he's unbelievable. The co-author just talks about doing one thing.
Maybe that's the book, bro.
Is it? Could be. It's a famous book. I haven't read it. It's on my to-do list, but it's amazing. It's called The One Thing. But anyway, let's see.
That might be it. Okay, so anyway, so they bring this guy and his wife on this podcast, and a big topic of their discussion was, how do you get your significant other on board with your goals? Maybe your goal in 5 years is to have $1 million, and maybe their goal in 5 years is to
have a baby,
or
start a career, maybe, or I don't know. I don't want to be too chauvinistic.
But okay, let's even put it in like a like a New Year's resolution type thing, right? Like, so my New Year's resolution is going to be
to get a promotion,
to get a promotion and save
$40,000,
right? And maybe your significant other
just wants to join the gym.
Or drink more water,
Oh my God.
Something, right? Wow. So how do you balance that?
Yeah.
And how do you,
that's good.
So the relationship that I'm in, we're meeting up because, we lived together, we started dating, we lived together, and then I broke up with her, and it was this big thing, and then she moved back to Arizona, and now we're in a relationship. And she's in Arizona, long distance, right? So the issue was I have a problem with boundaries.
You letting too much happen, or
I let other people's opinions influence me, right? So I would, I was talking to other people about issues that I was having in my relationship without discussing it with the person that I was in the relationship with, right? And then
I don't think that's too bad. You kind of got to bounce some things off the wall first to kind of get a baseline of what you're going to tell them.
I let that absorb into me, and it taints my original feelings about it.
Gotcha.
So it's something that I've had to work on. It's an ongoing process, but
it's okay.
So now
that's why you got to date your friends. I'm being serious.
Yeah. So
it makes it a lot easier.
So now,
not like all your friends.
Right.
Date a
just
friend.
a couple.
Or that. Right.
So now we have a trip planned at the end of this month.
Cool. Where are you guys going?
We're going to Blythe, in the middle of nowhere, right on the border of California and Arizona. Because it's halfway. She lives in Flagstaff. I'm out here, so smack dab in the middle, right? So we're on the Colorado River.
Oh, nice. There you go. We need something like that. We need some outdoorsy, kind of.
So, and it's we're calling it a goal setting retreat. So we're gonna take one whole day while we're out there and be okay, where are we trying to go? What do you need? What do I need? What do we need to be able to execute and get to where we want to be? And that was one of the things that they talked about on that podcast, on the Bigger Pockets podcast, where they brought that couple on. So I listened to it, and then I sent it to Kayla, and I was like, listen to this. And she listened to it, and she was like, ooh, I like that. When are we going on a goal setting retreat? Because that was one of the things that couple did. Every year they go on a retreat.
That's fire.
Yeah.
Talking about cheat codes. That's really good, right? Like so something to do and work on and maybe reevaluate the goals every time you go again.
Right. And that's the other thing is now you got your partner helping you be accountable for these things. And my thing is like in the next period, I don't know exactly how long, maybe 24 months.
Okay.
I want to purchase my first piece of real estate.
You gotta talk to Erica, bro, because I gave that girl some fucking advice, man, and she is flying. She just bought her second place for $25,000, my guy.
Who?
Erica Reyes.
Erica.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm telling you, she took my advice, bro. She was gonna sell her house. I don't mean
she had a house.
Hold on to your thought, okay? Hold on to your thought, okay? So let's go. Just to put a mental note, you might edit this out just so we don't blow up our whole government. But we have this mutual friend. Maybe we can start there. You can get rid of all her government. We have a mutual friend, and she has a house. Okay, right. She was gonna sell it because the house was too big and she was having family issues or whatever. I said, "What are you doing? That sounds like a terrible idea." So thank you, Mr. Robert Kawasaki. I told her, I said, "Listen, this is what you need to do. You need to go and get yourself a property management group," which she did. So they're gonna charge you anywhere from 8 to 10%, which they do. And now they helped her get her second place. And so she's gonna be renting out her place to her parents. They're gonna cover the mortgage, and she's gonna get another place. And then she took it a step further. Okay, she's gonna rent out that place, and then downsize again, and live in a 1-bedroom apartment with 3 other girls paying $650, stacking chips.
That's what we call house hacking.
Right, but because I know that was another thing too. Because for me, it's been weird. Like I've been around all these guys that are touching their true nature, but are kind of afraid to walk into it fully. And I think something with you, we've always talked. You've been wanting to get into the real estate game for a minute, right? So I just maybe chatting with her and trying to see because that $25,000 down sounds fire. Because we're thinking about a crazier, more higher entry level thing. But I think she's getting a condo. I mean, how hard would it be for you to get 30 racks? Not that difficult. I mean, if you came up with 15, the bank would lend you the other, however much more.
Right.
The only problem is the logistics side of, which is what I want to ask her. Because when you buy a new home, you have to put more money down when you're going to rent it out.
Right. So you can have your primary residence where you can put like 3.5% down.
Right.
If it's an investment property, you have to have 20.
Correct. So I don't know, but I was just saying for you,
this
24, we'll get back to the 24-year goal. Maybe it can get speeded up just by chopping it up with her real quick, because this is, I mean, she made it happen. Well, I don't know how the fuck she did it, but it could also, a large part of it maybe too, she used the equity from the first one to kind of go down, so that way maybe she didn't have to put so much down. But I don't know. I didn't ask her too much. I was happy that someone took my fucking advice, because I hang around with a lot of motherfuckers that don't take my advice. So it was nice, and of all people, she like almost threw me to the floor, because I talked to mostly my circle's dudes, and it took a chick to take my shit. And bro, she's gonna be, if all goes well, she's gonna start stacking chips.
Yeah.
Because you have 2. I was like, listen, don't stop. Buy another one and do what people do, and then she doesn't manage anything. The company does. But anyways, so your goal would be at 24 months to potentially buy an investment property or your own place.
Well, so like I'm looking to buy like a place that I can live in and also rent out the rest of it, right? So the thing is, my girlfriend doesn't know anything about real estate.
Right.
And I know very little, but I know, like, I'm educating myself as time goes on. And so the question is, how do I get her on board? How do I, because she knows what I want to do, but it's like, how do I get her to understand how the process works? And, and so this is something that we have to discuss at this goal setting retreat, but that's the cool part about it, is like
talking about real shit
rather than like,
right.
Where do you want to go to dinner? Yeah.
You like that, bro? Your guys in the building, bro. It's because it's the same shit.
Yeah.
So this was another thing that I think has to be highlighted. Before you even think about it, and you didn't even think about it, so I'm going to tell you something you should be thinking about. Before you take a retreat with someone, right? First of all, the baseline should be wife. That's no shots to your significant other. But the question you have to ask yourself, am I taking a retreat with a friend or am I taking a retreat with my future wife?
Mm-hmm.
And then that's where it kind of has to go, because I don't think you need to push or sell an agenda to someone who you're not going to be with for the next 3 years, because then you're going to set up all these goals, right? You're going to hit year 3 for whatever the reason you guys might not stay together, and then it hurts yourself, not just your mind, your heart and stuff, but your internal spirit, because you're like, damn, I got to start all over again, which you kind of don't. But in breakups, something happens to people that they feel like they go from 100 to 0 right out the gate. And so, like I said, I think something that for you to take time and think about is, okay, do you really need to share this agenda with someone that's just your girlfriend, or is this agenda that you should be sharing with someone that you're thinking is going to be a life partner?
Right.
And that's a bigger thing, because if you guys are not going to stay together for more than 2 years, who gives a flying fuck what you're going to be doing in 24 months?
Well, if I mean,
you know what I mean?
Here's the thing: if I didn't think it was gonna
work, you wouldn't even be taking it. Cool.
Like I wouldn't be in a
also,
long
another thing
distance
too,
relationship,
a lawyer friend of mine used to call it the Hillary. He used to call it the Clinton, and it was like this tactic.
The Clinton.
Yeah, where maybe you guys are not going to be together forever, but getting a business partner that's a female, right? That you guys do have romantic issues together, interests together, right? Not issues, interests. But if the relationship sours, you can still be great friends, and maybe you can still practice business together, right? Where you know that person, you trust them, you know them in and out. Because I for me, for the most part, they always say, women are sketchy. But I think dudes are sketchier more when it comes to business. I feel like if you have someone that has your back, a woman's not going to fuck you in a deal. A dude will fuck you in a deal in a heartbeat, right? And so maybe looking at those lines as well.
Think that because you're a dude.
No. Well, there could also be that I haven't done that many deals with women, but for the most part, the deals that I've done with women, they have my best interests in mind.
Yeah.
They're never trying to fuck somebody, whether I know them or not. Every woman I've ever tried to do business with, for the most part, hasn't been trying to make what's best for them. They're usually best for the group, and I think that comes with being a woman and being maternal. So dudes don't have that shit. It's just like dudes are like, I need as much money out of this as possible.
Yeah.
But back to with her, even if it's not something that might end up be long term, but how cool would it be if you guys ended up being great friends and then you guys are splitting buying homes and it's your company and this is what you guys do, versus getting into the real estate business, maybe blowing up, right? Mm-hmm. Be in the cover and then see how every cover on the market that you see is like, oh, this really successful real estate group or company broke up because now he's seeing some other broad or she's seeing some other broad and they're going to divide the earnings or whatever the case, right? But I think going in there with more of a friend motive too, right? Versus it being romantic, because I think romantic always clouds things.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. This is why it's a weird situation, right? I've never been in a long distance relationship before, so it's cool that we're able to plan, we've got a couple times planned over the next few months where we're gonna, because we can't see each other every weekend, but it's cool that for one, obviously the long distance thing sucks, but it gives me an opportunity to, because normally what I do, what I do is it's a terrible pattern that I fall into is I'll get in a relationship and then my goals fall to the wayside, and I'm not I was going to the gym 5 days a week. Now I might go once or twice, and I'm not, putting as much time into this and as much time into that. And I struggle with balancing the importance of each aspect of my life as more things come in.
Everybody does.
Right. So as much as it sucks to, be in a long distance relationship currently, it's also, I feel, benefiting me that I'm able to, have my attention focused on right now what I need to be doing to set me up long term, while also, having this other person that's got my back. I have her back, and we still talk, but it's not every single day we're spending every minute together. And
because God bless their souls, that's what they want to do. I'm like, listen, bro, I love you, but I might want to do something else. I think that's also something too for the female listeners, understanding how not to overwhelm your significant other with too much of the responsibility of attention. right? Like it almost seems like they're like a child at times. Where it's like, hey, what about me? Where you at? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I got it. But right now it's my me time. So you're kind of fortunate with that. And as you're talking about that, I was just thinking too. So this is two things I was thinking about. First of all, nothing lasts forever. So you trying to figure out how to maximize that time when you have it is important. Like for me, I have this really interesting situation where for a few days out of the week, I don't have the kids. For a few days out of the week, I don't have Tabitha. Who knows if that's going to last forever? So I have to maximize that time too. Right? Because what happens in your situation, you guys do a year and maybe you weren't grinding as hard to get to your goal. And then all of a sudden you guys move back in. And then now you didn't even manage how to manage your time. Plus now you're going to manage how to have them back into your life. So, self-accounting is huge. And I don't think it's on the platforms enough. I read a lot of news articles, and I read a lot of news and a lot of people's opinion, and it just doesn't seem like men overall have a voice in that regard. Where it's like, listen, you should be introspective. You should be looking if you're doing the best that you could be doing. You should be looking if you're maximizing your time.
You're saying that guys don't look at that enough?
I'm saying there's not even like rhetoric.
Conversation about it.
Right. So the only guy that's the most thoughtful man on the planet. And this is a stretch, but let's use Joe, right? And Joe Rogan has such a big gambit, but he would be like one of the more sincere voices that literally talks to people with an outlet about bettering yourself, about being better. We talked about motivational coaches. Have you ever heard some of his snippets that people love? I mean, you would run through a wall if you heard that shit too, right? So, but for the most part, I read a lot of news, and the only thing they're serving guys is sports. Right? Or they're only serving, media junk. I have not read an article. Girls get it all the time. 6 ways to be better with your lover. 10 ways to be, a better writer. You know what I mean? 8 ways. Yeah, but it's not even Cosmo doesn't mean it. But even just articles, because you have now all these news guys and news feeds pumping their way through different spots. But always, women are always in tune with their emotions and where they're at, and guys, it just doesn't seem that gets spoken about as much.
The balancing of feminine and masculine energy, and how can you internalize those and be able to express them in a way that's going to be healthy and beneficial.
Right.
That's the struggle. Because you can, like you said, you'll start crying in a movie, there's your,
Right.
But how, and that's the other thing is who's teaching these things?
Right.
Are the parents teaching them? My mom is a very well-rounded emotionally, at times she can be very passive aggressive, but for the most part when I was younger, my mom had I'm your mom, I'm right, I don't want to hear it, which is, I feel like a lot of parents do that. But now that I'm older, we can talk and have discussions and in-depth conversations, and I'm really thankful that I have a parent that does that, because I feel like not everyone does, to where you can rather than there's always a lot of, I feel like you hear a lot about heated emotional discussions with family members, because there is a lot of emotion, you're blood related, and things get fired up or whatever, and it's hard to take a step back and be okay, this is my family member, I can't control them, they can't control me, but we can still have a nice discussion and be I feel this way, you feel this way, how can we figure it out? And I it's difficult to, and that's the thing, the negative stigma about guys who are too into their feelings. But if you're not, then you're not going to be able to form healthy relationships, you're not going to be able to network effectively, you're not going to be able to communicate effectively. You have to have an all-encompassing baseline of, this is who I am, this is what I need, this is what I want, and I'm not gonna, I know how to go about getting it without belittling anybody or or without having anybody else's opinion influence me to where it's gonna like how you said earlier, like you're telling too many people what you want to do and they're like, bro, you're a fucking idiot, why are you doing that? You should just stop that right now. No, like this is why I feel, this is what I want to do, this is how I'm gonna do it. And maybe like have that team. You don't have to tell everybody. Like you can have your friends, cool, but your friends don't need to know every move that you make.
Right.
You know, have that core group and be able to like let your guard down and let, you know, like be logical, but be able to let your emotions out and be like I really fucking want this, you know, or like, fuck, I'm devastated, you know, but you gotta be able to do it. Otherwise, you're gonna go crazy and you're not gonna be able, like if you keep that stuff bottled up, nothing good comes.
I think that's a large portion of why the underlining answer for a lot of that is finding a partner, because that's when, you know, if you're doing your stuff right and you're fact checking your stuff, you're hopefully picking a girl or somebody that, I don't want to say improve, but complements your style.
Yeah.
Right. And so having a dialogue with them and appreciating their feedback. But if you don't have that, you also have to be able to evaluate some of the other people in your life that you're gonna listen to. Right. That you're gonna take the constructive criticism the best way possible, and they're not trying to hurt you. But it takes time. You know what I mean? I think like whether we're talking about motivational speakers and when we're talking about us, I mean, a lot of people, you know, I was even thinking about that this morning, you know, even though I think I'm going slow, I also have to realize that no matter how fast I go, there's just a process. It doesn't matter. Like I could be all zipped up and all good to go, and it's still, I'm going to have to go through those trials and tribulations of something to kind of continue to open up parts of me. I think also too, a large portion of things, you know, there's something to be said about spending time by yourself, and not that dangerous time where you're slitting your wrist, but more the time of like, I'm telling you, man, just really, really taking a hard look and really saying some hard shit to yourself. Like, you know, like I said, if you have all the answers and your inner voice is always talking to you, I think starting the dialogue with yourself is a good way to start, and then, you know, trusting one or two people and going with that and kind of seeing how it works out. But yeah, it's sad that, well, it's good that now that things are changing, it's okay to be that way, but it's sad that with guys, when you talk about stuff like this, it's kind of seem like weakness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what sucks, because a lot of dudes are like, bro, lock it up, I don't give a fuck.
Right.
And those are the dudes you gotta like filter it through to get to where you're trying to get to, where you have maybe a couple of dudes, your confidants, that you're like, hey, I've been pondering this, what do you guys think, you know? Which, I'm not gonna blast this dude, but I was like leaned on yesterday, and I didn't tell him the truth because it wasn't the setting, but in a crazy way, I just was like, bro, go do it. Whatever it is. I mean, it's if I tell you it, bro, it sounds so.
Can you tell me after?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
It was so. I just don't want to like embarrass him, because I thought about having him on the show, just because, dude, it's so hard, man. And this is something that, because I listen to a lot of people and I've talked to a lot of people. Guys are constantly trying to find how they fit in the Rubik's Cube of life. I think that women automatically feel like they're a part of something, so they don't question it as much as we do. But like, you don't really hear women usually say the word purpose, and that word has been like a thing that's been rattling in my mind for like at least the last year. Hardcore.
Maybe you're just not looking in the right places.
No, but this is what I'm telling you. I've spoken. Think about this as a bartender. How many women I've spoken to in 10 years, and I'm constantly asking them questions. I'm not like the regular bartender that's automatically always trying to hit on chicks. I'm introspective. I want to know about them. I want to think, you know, and I bounce ideas off to them just to, you know, see where it's at. But like I said, you know, I was watching John Wick Part 3, and like my favorite part in John Wick is the first two, and it's like, this is a man of purpose. This is the man of conviction. You know what I mean? It's like, and I forget what the third one is, but like resolve. Like, you just, this dude, you know, he's gonna get you. It doesn't matter. And some of the things that I feel like we set ourselves up, you know, when you're talking to people, it just for dudes versus women, they look at their legacy different than we look at our legacy, right? They look at their legacy like they want to have kids and start a family, and that could be their purpose. Guys are like you said, like look automatically, right? You're trying to make that money. You're trying to build. I swear to God, bro. Like it's and talking in the same way we were talking about, trying to get that in line, right? Because for the most part, chicks really don't give a fuck about money. They don't. They're very happy with a lot of things. Like they're a lot more grounded than we are. I would say that men, for the most part, are the dreamers, right? Because chicks, they see shit. Even though I was saying on another podcast that they see things gray, sometimes they see shit black and white. And they're like, bro, that's not gonna fucking work. And you just keep banging your fucking head against the wall because you don't think they know what they're talking about. But there's times that it just comes to them and it just makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think looking for some people, maybe trying to find a significant other, and then kind of getting the ebbs and flows of who you should say what to, and so on and so forth, and
right. Well,
kind
that's
of
the game. And the thing is, it's trial and error, right?
That's the
and
thing
nobody
sucks.
wants to be like betrayed or let down by the people that they chose to let in, right? But it happens,
right, all the time.
You just have to be able to be like, okay, bad call, my bad. Let's not do that again. Like talking to yourself, like having conversations.
Right, I
with yourself.
follow you.
Look, okay, how do we avoid this situation in the future? Like,
right.
Damn, I really thought that person was sincere.
Right.
And it turns out, like, I dated this girl a few years ago, and like I thought, you know, it's all
she's
like,
the one.
No.
The one right now.
But you know, I thought things were going really well, and you know, we were, you know, doing our thing, and come to find out, she's banging like 10 dudes in the neighborhood, you know, and I was like that, and I made it a point in that relationship. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna like put on a facade. I'm just gonna be me, and I was like,
did you tell her that?
But I was like,
that should have been a conversation.
You know? But I was like,
are you gonna be transparent with me, girl, or what?
Yeah, but I, you know, like I made the decision, like, okay, like this was at a time where I was like scummy coke dealer in San Carlos, you know, and I was like, I'm just gonna be me, whatever, you know, and that backfired super hard, you know.
So,
but that's the thing, is like, okay, how do I like internalize that and be like, okay, that's not all women.
Right.
You know?
Right. What can I learn from this?
I'm like, I gotta be able to like put myself out there and be able to, you know, build trust with anybody, you know, or, you know, select people. How do I mitigate the risks?
Right.
And not put myself in that position again? And I honestly don't know.
Still?
But, well, like it's hard to like put it into words.
Right,
it's more of like,
an understanding.
I can feel
Yes.
it, right? And I can understand
right.
it, you know? So like I'm more aware of, I would say that specific relationship made me more observant about what people do and what they say.
For sure.
You know? And it's worked out.
I think in a lot of different spectrums, a part of internalizing it is not putting too much into it, right? So like giving it a value, right? And saying, okay, well, I'm going to dedicate 10% of my whole me to this. And as it improves, I'll add. Mm-hmm. Versus going in a whole 100, because I know that's how dudes are, bro. Listen, I've been there, bro. She's so fine, and you're like, this is the one in your mind. And I make that joke, but maybe not the one, but someone that you feel comfortable enough to be like, I'm gonna let them in. Right. This is a person I chose.
Right.
And you know, I just don't. You don't have to go so all in. I think you should take the baby steps in that. Right. And then and one thing that I never liked, but that women use a lot, and this is one of the things that we got to start to learn. Right. Women test us all the time. Men don't test women at all. The only time you get tested or measured is in the bedroom, for the most part. Everything outside of that, you're not, I mean, like, a girl will literally tell you a lie that has truth in it to see how you're going to react to something, or to see if you're going to tell her the truth, right? And you don't tell her the truth, and she's got you dead to rights, right? How many times does a guy implement some shit like that? Never. Right, that's...
I'm sure it happens.
Of course, but I'm saying overall, right? Like, that's some sick shit she just did. You know how many times the chick has asked me a question she knows the answer to? And I'm like, no. And she's like, yes. And I'm like, heck. How did you know? What did I get back? You know? But, and I think with all things, like, for example, the podcasting, you know, like, don't go in it thinking you're going to be a millionaire out the gate, because the moment you get shut down, right?
Your dreams are
yeah,
crushed and
you're
you're
killed.
devastated.
Like the same thing just happened to me. I made a baseball guy, and I had to internalize it. I'm like, before I send out this email, he's not gonna respond. Maybe.
Right.
Instead of going like, he's gonna fucking respond.
And then
this
you're
is the
checking
guy.
every 30 minutes.
Bro, I made sure, just for listeners, okay. So if you fall into some kind of situation like this, I didn't look at it for 4 hours because I didn't want it to do that to me.
Right.
Check 30, check 30, check 30, and then be like a little bit more broken every 30-minute time. You know what I mean? So that's part of, for me, understanding the value of things, understanding the value you put things into.
Yeah.
Right. So like if it's a new person, hey, listen, if I was in your corner and you told me the story, I'm like, yo, how long you known Shorty? For an hour? You might want to chill about letting her all the way in, right? Maybe you give her a test, see where she's at. You know, and that's the thing. Women are way more calculated than dudes are for the most part when it comes to relationships and how they size up dudes. I don't know if that's like a thing about us because we're always trying to get in their pants, so they have to like counter that by like understanding all the back end shit about how to manipulate dudes. And manipulation is a joke word, but they get the emotional undertones a lot better than we do, again, for the most part. But like I said, just putting in the value. And then if they do it, it's like anything else, right? I mean, it seems like a simple investment strategy.
Yeah. Put
in $10, you double it, fuck, okay, it's doing all right. Do 40, but you're always constantly vetting it. You know what I mean? You don't have to watch it every 30 minutes or every, whatever, but set the time. Yeah, set the time that you allocate to that. Like, okay, I'm going to come back. I said this and this and this. I'm going to let it bubble and I'll be back in 2 weeks. And I go, for me, I even think, talking about the year, I don't even like a year. A year is way too long. For me, like with Tab, it's like, hey, let's do every 3 months or 4 months. Maybe we do the big thing in a year, right? But we should be constantly checking in with each other. Like,
oh yeah,
right? Because if you go the whole year and then you wait for the year results, you're like, damn, we didn't even do shit. Right. But if you set smaller goals and you hit those, it builds momentum, it builds camaraderie. You're like, damn, this fucker's doing it, I'm doing it, we're getting it, and just whether it's a financial goal, a monetary goal, a performance goal, you should constantly look at the value that you're putting into it and just, not killing yourself. Because, man, we laugh because it's funny, but we only laugh because we know, because we've done it, and you put 100 and it just crashes and burns. It just explodes, into a building. And it's a wrap. And then your emotions are all broken up. And then the rehab to that is so hard because the first thing that comes in to pull it full circle is like, oh, well, you know what? I'm not feeling so good. Let me get a drink.
Yeah.
Let me get 2 drinks. Oh, shit. Look at this person right to the left. Oh, you got a cigarette? All right, got outside. Boom. Hey, you want some of this? You want some? It just happens to, boom. And then you're like, Bender. You woke up in the next morning, you're like, damn, that sucked. But I still have the feeling of what happened sucked.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't fix anything.
Yeah. So I think we gotta wrap this up here in a second, but I want to see what's your time frame for because you're on Buzzsprout.
Mm-hmm.
Are you on YouTube?
I've made a social media accounts for everything, and I've made a YouTube account. But because I've been having some difficulties, like for you, it's a little bit more easier because you're implementing the whole audio, the whole video, right? Because there's some egregious stuff, and I have some crazy people on my show. I feel like you have people that are more, I don't want to say put together, but are more reverent. Some of the fools I have on my show are just like animals, and so I'm like, should I or should I not post this, right? And they're just
bro.
Nah, so in this era, I want to be sensitive. I think one thing that being the host of my own podcast show has doubled down in me that was already there is I'm very thoughtful, and I wouldn't want to offend somebody down the line. I mean, I was listening to something on the show and it almost offended me, and if they didn't apologize, I was ready to take a position, and they said something egregious, apologize all in the same timeline, and I was like, whoo, I was about to lose my shit. And so that's, if I think like that, a large portion of my show is what I would want to hear and what I want. So I just want to be respectful and stuff like that. Makes sense. So that's kind of the hiccup with having to go through the full audio, chop up what I need to chop up and put it in. But the cool thing is now that I got some presets put in. So the YouTube channel, let's say I'm gonna wait. The biggest thing coming out would be me getting approved by iTunes for the artwork, and so you said it took you what, a couple days for them to approve
I
you?
think so, yeah. But the other thing is like I had a unique logo that was the correct file size right off the bat.
Right. That's right. So I think I'm good. So we'll see. So my order of business today is to take one more. I gotta record my show. I gotta just finish, not editing, but put the finishing touches on my fourth episode. Submit that, and then go back to the other episodes and continue to work on that. And then I want to chop up some video. So, but like I said, again, it's about the scheduling and about the timing.
Right.
So hopefully it goes pretty smoothly and I don't have too many hiccups. But
I want to show you the.
We'll go through it.
The next time we hang out, I want to like put like a solid hour into like showing you around Instagram.
Yeah, that would be dope. Yeah, for sure.
You can
Yeah.
kind of get the feel for it because I know you're a newbie to the Instagram game.
Well, I'm a newbie to social media because
Yeah.
my social media app has been the bar. So I get new players every day. It's been awesome.
Well, shit, man. You got anything else?
I mean, I can go forever, but
I know.
that's just me. I'm sure you have agendas and shit to do.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. So take us out.
All right, my friends. Well, this was quite an epic episode.
For sure. It's always fucking epic.
I know.
This is great.
Yeah, if you guys want to hear anything or have any topics you want to talk about, whoever's, if you have something specific about Dustin or if you want to hear something specific on any episode of the podcast, shoot me an email to comebackjourney@gmail.com. Message me on Instagram. Yeah.
And yeah, don't hold your breath too long, ladies and gentlemen, but the Airing It Out podcast should be published on iTunes, Spotify, the Google Play Store within the next week or so. So,
cool.
Yeah.
All right, brother.
Peace out.
Yeah, man.